Resource person, Ms.Nandini Kalyani Chandra, Client Service Manager, Akamai Technologies. She is from Bangalore, who has completed her BTech in the stream of Information Science and MBA in Operation Management from Jain University. She worked for IBM, Accenture, and currently she's working for Akamai Technologies. She's holding 6+ years of experience in IT industry. We are so grateful for her acceptance of knowledge sharing through this live webinar. We wholeheartedly welcome you for this program. Welcome, madam.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank
the
you.
honor of being here. Thank you so much.
Nandini, you can proceed.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I know on a Wednesday afternoon, everybody after lunch are very sleepy. I will ensure I'll keep the seminar very interactive or it doesn't bore you all. Right. So the topic that I'm going to talk about today is cloud computing. Let's know what happens in the cloud world. So today, where everything is moving towards cloud, there are a lot of migrants towards cloud. So let's take a look of how this cloud computing works, right? The agenda that I'm going to cover today is what is cloud computing, how does it work, what is the architecture or how it is baselined, what are the different models and types of cloud, plus some advantages, and yeah, I will give you some benefits of how it is going to help in today's industry. As in when, because we are all migrating towards cloud, I will also let, as a BTech students, it will be very useful to know how cloud works, right? Now, before I will move on to know what is cloud computing, let's see how things are before cloud computing. Everything in today's world is on an internet. Everything is online today, right? So everything is called the data. Data could be anything in the form of an image, maybe a text, an audio file, a video file. Everything and anything in today's world on the computer is called as a data. Now, if we have to store this much amount of data, back then we had, or even now we have something called the data servers. So the data servers are mainly used to maintain this amount of data and manage and process them. But because the data has become tremendous in today's world, it is a bit hard. I would not say hard. There are a lot of things involved to maintain the particular data center. Now, how do we cover them up is through the help of a cloud computing. So instead of having the actual data center, where a data center needs a physical building, it also needs an AC, a power supply, a trained technical person to monitor it. Now, how do we migrate it to something which is very flexible and user convenient is all about cloud computing. Right now, cloud computing, it also existed from the 1970s. Back in, when internet started, we still did have cloud computing, but it was not this famous like how we call it now, because back then the data was very less. We didn't have humorous data, so we had to. We didn't bother much about it. Now, moving towards a lot of data is when we are talking about the term cloud computing, right? So let's see what is cloud computing. Now, before moving to cloud computing, let's split it as two different words, computing and cloud. What is computing? Computing, if you will talk about, is something related to a computer which manages anything on the computer is called as computing. Now, what is cloud? In network terminology, everything was presented through some or the other way. Like a switch had a model, internet had a model. So cloud was designed in the form of internet. So internet is nothing but your cloud. If we will put together what is cloud computing is anything that happens on the internet today, which we manage through a computer, is nothing but cloud computing. Right now, let let me give a small example. I am a person who is traveling from destination from one place to another place, right? So that's my source and destination. So I take a train ticket and or a bus ticket, and I want to go from one place to another place. Now, I also have my co-passengers who want to travel from one place to another place. I am not worried about where my co-passenger is traveling, nor they are not worried about where I'm traveling. That's exactly how a cloud works. So I have a huge platform, a huge cloud, where there are innumerable number of users who are trying to access or use some particular data that they want to use. Now, one user is not connected with another user, or they don't want to know what the other user is trying. So I kind of pay for what I use or the service that I use, and my neighbor also does the same. So it doesn't affect each other. That's the concept of cloud computing, where there are multiple of users who are trying to access the internet to manage their data or storage, and they're not connected to each other and they're least bothered. Now, if we'll talk about who are the users who are using cloud computing, so there are innumerable number of users, including our individual public who's trying to access this cloud. If we will take the general public as a usage, then Gmail is a very good example of what a cloud computing is. If I'm a person who's accessing, I think everybody accesses Gmail and Yahoo Mail, right? So the emails that we get through Gmail is not saved in a local system or in a desktop. It's always saved in the Gmail cloud. Now, that is a very simple concept of cloud computing. Everybody in today's world is trying to access or use the cloud, be it a person who hosts something on Facebook, be it a person who hosts something live on Hotstar, or a general public who uses Gmail or Yahoo Mail or even Google Drive. There are innumerable team who is just trying to access this cloud, because that is how cloud is very beneficial. Like there are a lot of examples like Facebook. Then we have someone like Hotstar who uses it. The live streaming happens through Hotstar. They use the cloud platform. And there are many more things like a healthcare team will use cloud, an individual public uses a cloud. So there are numerous people, right? Now, cloud has a very simple architecture. So a cloud is got something like a cloud platform. It's not a physical platform. It's a virtual platform that is all about what we're talking about cloud. So we have the cloud service providers. There are a lot of cloud service provider companies like IBM, Amazon, Akamai. They are called the cloud service companies who are giving this particular space for the other users who is trying to use this cloud. So the architecture of cloud is very simple. So you have a cloud service provider and you have a platform where we can host or we can use it. And we have the infrastructure and we have the storage system. The storage system is the place where it's like a rack where you store everything. So you can imagine like a bookshelf library where you have the book stored. So something similar to that is your cloud storage system. So you have a huge space. It's just a virtual space. Nothing is physical in cloud. You have a huge physical space and you kind of try to access based on the amount that you paid for. So that's the architecture of cloud. Now, since I said cloud is used by every person, like let's differentiate what are the different types of cloud that is available, right? You can't have everybody use a common cloud. Like every public cannot use one cloud. So we will categorize how cloud is differentiated, right? So types of cloud is there are three, or may actually in today's world there are majorly four ones. That is a public cloud, a private cloud, and a hybrid cloud. And now, as in when we are moving, we also have something called a community cloud. Now, let's see how these cloud help our end users. First, being public cloud. Now, what is a public cloud? Public cloud is something which is open to the public, like the term we talk about public, the general audience or the general people. One best example of this public cloud is the Gmail or Google Drive, where any user, end user, or a normal layman term can use this particular cloud. For Google Drive is one big example of this public cloud, where everything, all your images, everything is on a common shared drive, and that is called a public cloud. Now, what's a private cloud? Private cloud is which is something which is given to a particular organization. So organizations like so the difference between a private cloud and a public cloud is a public cloud is being very shared. It's like it's a general cloud. Anybody can use it from anywhere. Whereas a private cloud is something which is dedicated towards a particular organization. And a single organization will take whole responsibility of that particular cloud. They will pay for it, and only that particular employees of that particular organization will be able to access this particular cloud. So that's a private cloud. For example, like I said, IBM users will be able to access only the IBM cloud, and an employee from, say, Google will not be able to access this particular IBM cloud. So that's why it's called as a dedicated cloud. We also have something called a hybrid cloud and a community cloud. What is hybrid cloud is a public cloud and a private cloud together forms the hybrid cloud. Now, why you may think, why do we need a hybrid cloud? There are numerous reasons as to why we will need a hybrid cloud. For an example, we have something called healthcare. So what happens in a healthcare is you have the patient's database that you want to store, and that has to be secure. At the same time, you also have some database that you want the general public to view. So there is a confidential database, and there's also a general database that people can view. This is the reason why a hybrid cloud comes into picture, where certain data can be private only for the particular organization or the healthcare, and certain data can be left to the public where the public can see. So together, a public and a private cloud together forms the hybrid cloud. Now, what is a community cloud? Now, early 2000s, when the cloud started coming up, we didn't have something called a community cloud. Community cloud started very recently in late 2005 later on, because there are huge organizations who form a community, like we have something called community area, right? Something very similar is called the community cloud. For example, I have a telecommunication companies together like Airtel, Vodafone, AT&T, Verizon. These are all major telecommunication service providers. Now, all these telecommunication service providers together uh, buy a cloud and they share it among themselves. So that's called a community cloud. Now, how community cloud is very useful, if you would think of, is where one particular industry together will share this particular cloud. So on the industry basis, it will be very useful for the industries. Like IT industries together might form a single cloud for their usage, or a telecommunication on their usage. So that's why community cloud is very, very useful in upcoming world. Now, cloud computing has major categories. Like, cloud is one term, but it has multiple uses behind cloud. Cloud can act as major three things. So that is where it acts as a software as a service, it acts platform as a service, and it has infrastructure as a service. If you will think what are these three, I would explain. And if we'll ask which is beneficial or which is better, then there is nothing which is beneficial or not. Based on the end user's requirements, based on what the clients need, it gets categorized, and everything acts best in their way, including the cost, including the usage, the storage. So each one has their own advantages, and based on what an end user is looking for, the advantages varies, right? So let's have a look into what are these three things. The first one is the infrastructure as a service. Now, what happens in an infrastructure as a service? In an infrastructure as a service cloud, the entire infrastructure is being given to the end user. So I'm an user who is trying to buy a part of cloud, but I will need something called the infrastructure as well. Infrastructure will cover everything from the premise, the physical building, until the operating system and the applications. A simple example I would give is the Google Drive office. So from the Google building till the Google search engine till the application which runs on the particular operating system, everything is covered by this cloud infrastructure as a service. As an end user who is trying to buy this, he need not worry about the infrastructure. He need not worry about the operating system. He need not worry about the storage, the data, the application maintenance. So all that he has to do is pay money for it, and the entire maintenance and everything is taken care by the cloud service provider. So this way, even though he pays money, he just focuses on this particular, role of getting up the building, and he's not worried about the infrastructure and everything. So that's how infrastructure works. Another thing, another big region of cloud is platform as a service. Right now, what happens in platform as a service? You have a particular platform that you give. You don't rent the infrastructure. The infrastructure is owned by the end user. You only give him a particular platform, basically the hardware and the operating system. The physical place in the infrastructure is not given to this particular user. An example that I would give for platform as a service is the Google search engine or Windows Azure. So what happens in Google search engine is the platform here is the Google search page. You also have the operating system which is given, and the Google search engine page is also given. So that's the platform. So I give a base page, and I also give an application that for you to run on. So that's the platform as a service. Moving on, we have the software as a service. Now, what happens in software as a service is you do not give the end user or the person who's buying the infrastructure, you do not give them the particular platform, you only give them an application. The application, in a simple example, is the Gmail application that we use. Like, I'm an end user, I have my Android phone or an iPhone, and I have a Gmail app. Now, that particular app is the software as a service application. So here, I do not pay money for the phone. The phone is mine. So the cloud doesn't give me anything. The cloud only gives me that particular application. So, so that is software as a service. If you will take the phone, if the cloud service provider is giving you the phone and the application, then that's your platform as a service. So I'm giving you a particular platform and I'm giving you only an application. So when only applications is being used, that's called software as a service. So like the image said, so you can see an Gmail app or a mailing box. So that's only an application that an end user buys for. Now this, in today's world, everybody prefers software as a service. That's because this application is being used anywhere in and out in any operating system, be it say Windows, be it say Linux, be it any operating system, and it can be accessed from anywhere. So you don't need a physical building. You just need this particular application. So software as a service is in trend in today's world, and users sitting in say Sydney, sitting in say Malaysia, or sitting in India or anywhere can access this software as a service, and that's how it's becoming very famous and convenient for the end user. So I take in an application, I just pay for the application, and I kickstart using it, and I'm done. I only pay attention on the or the cost that I give for the application. Reminding everything is taken care by the cloud users. So that is a major advantage of cloud technology. As an end user, I pay my attention or full attention to the business that I'm starting up, and I'm least concerned about uh, the servers that I have to maintain or the setup that I got to do. Like for example, if I will take Flipkart as an example, Flipkart uses cloud, and they are just worried or focused on how to bring up their business. They don't need to check where is their infrastructure, where is the data center. The maintenance, everything is taken care by a cloud service provider. And in today's world, the dominant cloud service providers are Amazon, IBM, and so these are Microsoft Azure. These are like top-notch cloud service providers. There are some other service providers like Salesforce, Akamai, but they are not majorly into cloud servicing. They do different parts of it, but the major cloud service providers in today's world is Amazon and IBM, right? Now, because we spoke about what are the different types of clouds, there are a lot of advantages that this cloud computing provides. One and the major advantage of this cloud computing is anywhere, anytime I can access my application. So that's a general meaning of your cloud computing. I could be in any part of the world, like might be like I said, Sydney, London, Bangalore, Chennai. I could be in any part of the world with an internet connection. Internet is the basic. With an internet connection, I could access data anywhere, anytime, any part of the world. Round the clock, 24 bar 7, 365 days, I can access it and I can do it immediately. So that's one biggest advantage of cloud. Whereas if you will take a data center, so the setup of a data center itself takes about 2 years or 3 years plus. So in a data center, you will need a server room. You will need ACs for those servers. You will need a lot of wiring, molding, racks, and everything. And the setup cost is also very, very expensive when you have a physical data center. So compared to what a physical data center is, the main advantage of your cloud is set up anywhere, anytime, and it's very easy. So let's also talk about a lot other advantages of what this cloud does. Another is, like I said, flexibility. So what is flexibility? Flexibility is something like at a doorstep. Everything you want it at the doorstep, right? For example, an Amazon parcel. You want an Amazon parcel to come at your doorstep. You want the delivery boy to knock your door and give you the product. That's flexibility. To, like I said, to establish this cloud, you can do it anywhere, anytime, provided you have a internet connection. I can sit in Sydney and I can still open an application which runs in Bangalore. That is possible in cloud computing, whereas that's not possible through an actual data center. Now there is cost. Everything revolves around money, right? Isn't it? Money is one major factor that everybody looks for. Like I'm a person who is trying to start a new e-commerce business. So now when I'm starting a new e-commerce business, I look into sales, marketing, and IT. But I have very limited cost. Now I do not have money or budget for all the three things. How do I fix this issue? Say, for example, if I will buy the cloud or the IT infrastructure, now I just have to focus on sales and marketing, whereas my IT infrastructure is covered by the cloud computing service provider. Now my work is sorted. So as an e-commerce person who's trying to start something new, I will put my whole focus on, say, sales and marketing, and I'm not worried about the infrastructure of the IT. So that's the headache of a cloud service provider, which means I'm set and I'm ready to go. So that's another thing. So it's very flexible. And the cost as well. The cost, if I have to do an actual data center, if I have to set up an actual data center, the cost is going to be tremendous. It might go up to lakhs plus. You will not have that much because you will need a physical land, you will need a room, you will need routers, switches, wires, and the data center has to be in centralized AC. If there is no proper AC or cooling power, there are chances due to tremendous heat, the data center might blast. Now, I do not have cost for or investment for this data center, right? So that's when cloud comes into the picture where I am not worried about it. Like I don't have to pay for a room or anything or the servers or routers or switches. I just pay my money for the service that I take from the service provider, and I'm very good enough, right? Another example or advantage of the cloud is the speed, right? So speed, everything you want in today's world or is through a click or through a nanosecond. I open in YouTube, I check for a video. Nobody wants buffering that particular video, isn't it? I just want to click the video and it has to go non-stop. That's how fast you want the pages to be, right? Even for example, a Flipkart page, I don't want any buffering. I want the page to load the second I click on it. Now that possible only with the help of cloud because the storage is spread across everywhere. The data is huge and it is spread across everywhere. So there is no issues. So everything happens very fast in a cloud, unlike a data center. So there is another main advantage of cloud is scalability. Now, what is scalability? Scalability is something like expanding, right? So I have something and I want to expand it, but I do not have that much money for it. Say I use 50 Mbps of data every day. Now, from 50 Mbps of data, I want to go to say 100 Mbps of data. Now, if I have an actual data center, now I need to put in 3 or 4 more servers to cover up this particular amount of data. But in cloud, I do not worry about it. Say, today I'm using 50 Mbps. Tomorrow I pay extra. I can even use up to 1000 Mbps. That's one advantage of cloud computing, right? I don't have to like if my business is booming a lot, then I can give extra money and expand and I can scale it up. And if my business is not going and it is about to fail, I can still pay the money that have been used and I can close it, and I had there is no issues also. So the space now, if I don't want to take the service, I can complete the payment and I'm done with it. As in, but in an actual data center, you will have difficulties to crash the data center or you to shut the data center. So there are a lot of advantages in the cloud, right? And uh, cloud is something which is very easy to understand. A normal person or an end user who is new to a business, who's trying to access something, for him, the cloud is very easy and self-explanatory. So all that I have to be doing is, open the site, go to a cloud service provider, check what are the benefits or what are the advantages or what things that they offer, and proceed with it. So an end user need not worry about what a router is or what a switch is or how the data center will work, how will it have a backup. So there are no such things that end user who needs to think about when he's buying a cloud service, uh, right? And it also have an advantage of backing up and storage. So in case if there is too much of users who's visiting the site, for an example, so I'm a person who's using a site and the views or the users of the site goes up tremendously. Now, an actual data center, because of this too much of load, if it goes beyond the threshold, there are chances that the data center could crash. Now, if it crashes, then you still have to pay a lot of money to maintain it, to rebuild it and everything. Whereas in a cloud, even if it fails, recovery is very possible because you already have a stored data. You have storage system which is tremendous and which is easy, and you would be able to even if it crashes or reaches the threshold, you would be able to recover back the data which you have lost. So there is nothing like where you lose the data and you kind of suffer for it in like your data center. So that's one more advantage of it. Another main big advantage of today's cloud is the security, right? Everything revolves around security. You want to ensure your passport is safe, your phone is safe, everything is safe, right? So that's how data is for the users. With the use of cloud, the data is very safe and secure. So you do not have to worry about what is happening, who's using it. Because of those VPNs that they use, the data is very, very safe using a cloud. So these are a few or a lot of advantages of cloud as compared to the actual or the authentic data center. Now, even though it has a lot of advantages, there are a lot of disadvantages too. Everything has its pros and cons, right? But the disadvantages here is very minimal as compared to anything else. So one of the major disadvantages, an end user has to trust a cloud service provider. So if I'm a person, I'm taking the service from a cloud service provider, then I have to trust him. Like if I do not have a trusted person, I will not want to go because my data is with them. Like whatever data that I'm sharing or my confidential data will be visible for the cloud service provider. So the dependency, there is a lot of dependency between the user and the service provider. So that is one of the disadvantages wherein if you can't trust the service provider, then you would not want to go to them, right? Another thing is the risk. Like you do, yes, the servers are say virtual, they're not physical. There are certain risks in the remote service that we take in today's world, which is not a major drawback, but yes, it is considered a minute drawback where you have to think about the remote service. Another is also the security. Now security acts in both the places. It is an advantage in cloud and it is also a disadvantage in cloud. Now, how is it a disadvantage is because uh, there are systems which is being shared. Not that the data is being shared, but a cloud is common to a lot of people. So, and hacking could be easier in a cloud computing, whereas in a physical data center, you have those securities and a lot of maintenance. So it has both advantage and disadvantage of security issues in the cloud. Another is the migration issue. So now people are very used to this data center model, even though it involves a lot of cost, it involves a lot of maintenance. Old is gold, isn't it? So they always still prefer going to the authentic way of the data centers. So the migration takes little time, and the migration of the data from the data centers to the cloud is also time consuming. So that is one of the major drawbacks of, say, cloud computing, I would say. And yeah, those are the few drawbacks. Now, what I would say is based on the IT industry and you guys coming from an a BTech background, cloud is the evolving world in today's era. In the era of 2022, the upcoming years, I think cloud is everything. It has a lot of scope, it has a lot of flexibility, it has a lot of attention, and everybody wants to move towards the cloud technology. So doing something or migrating towards a cloud is a good option because it helps an individual, it helps an industries, it helps a lot of people. So cloud computing is something which is a known factor and which I think everybody should get to know. So that's it. I think I am done with it. So
Yeah. Uh, Participants, if you have any questions, you can just ask. Nandini, when we try to browse the AWS or Google Cloud or whatever, we have a free tier.
Yes, sir, we do have free trials.
Okay, so in that free tier, they are asking for when I want to register myself, they are asking for a credit card to identify myself. That's okay. But when it comes, if my college wants to do the registration, still do we need a credit card? Any
Yes,
variant
sir.
for that?
Yes, sir, that's actually a must because there are cases that happens that after the free trial is over, right? People still continue to use it and they don't leave it. So the cloud service providers are kind of in law, so they ensure that the credit card payment is used, and the after the free trial is over, the day if you will not leave it, you will be charged for it. So a credit card details is a must.
Okay,
If they want to explore Nurture, I think there are a lot of supporting documents. Like Amazon page in Amazon.com or Amazon.in, there are a lot of supporting documents that they have.
okay,
And even in IBM also. So if you will search for cloud computing in IBM as well, so they have a lot of supporting documents and papers that they have written. That will be very useful for them. Some yes, they will not be able to buy it, but they'll get a lot of idea about it.
okay. Anybody else? If you have any question to ask, you can ask. டாக்டர் சரவணன் வேற கொஸ்டின்ஸ் எதுவும் இல்லை அப்படின்னா vote of thanks போயிடலாம்.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank
With
you.
great gratitude, the Department of Computer Science and Engineering is thanking you. I believe that through this webinar, all the participants are edified with splendid information about cloud computing. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We do expect your similar support in near future. I'd also like to thank the management, dean, head of the department, coordinator of the session, faculty members, and the students for their enormous support. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and thank you, sir, for this opportunity.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you. Very kind of
Thank
you.
you all. Yeah,
Stay
thank you.
safe. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.